Okay, and let's start. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today, or I'd rather say it's an inspirational lunchtime chat. So the topic is the future of reuse. The 2026 was called the year of reuse on many occasions, the year when the future of reuse is actually decided. So what we want to do today is just step back a bit and discuss the vision of our destination, where we want the reuse revolution to bring us in 10, 20 years. So for today's webinar, it's going to be recorded. You will receive recording after the session. The question and answers, please use it for the direct questions to our speakers. We'll try to answer during the session, or if not, we'll take it and reply by email later. Please use the chat to use your own ideas, your own vision, comments and inspirations. And let's start with the introduction. So I'm Irina. I'm Sustainability and Circularity Manager at RECOUP. At RECOUP, we work with the plastic recycling value chain to promote resource efficiency and circularity, and we recognize reuse as a crucial pillar for that. And I'm joined today by Dan from Circularity Corp and Lynn from FSD Returnables. We're also expecting Jo from CauliBox to join us, but she's having some technical difficulties at the moment, so she might join us a bit later. And I'm really excited to discuss the future of reuse with Dan and Lynn and hopefully Jo today, because they were among the first in the country to offer the reusable systems. And despite all the challenges, they make it work. They make a default option right now. So I'll pass it to them to talk about their business and a bit more. So over to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Irina, and thank you for the invite as well. And hi to everybody. I'm going to share, if that's okay, and we'll get going because I'm conscious we've not got a huge amount of time, and it'd be great to get some questions in at the end. So, as an introduction, for those of you who don't know Circular & Co, or should I say, sorry, is that, yeah, that's there. That's all sharing. So, yeah, Circular & Co, we've been going 24 years, and we've been in the sphere of circularity for all that time. We design and manufacture products primarily, but also services now. And our mission, our collective mission, is to try and eradicate single use where we can. So we believe we've got a sort of full spectrum. I guess every base covered in giving companies and communities every chance to enable that. So really quickly, we've got three arms to our business. One is reusables. So we frame reusables as something you'll buy and own, which is effectively a retail item. We have returnables, which is packaging that you will effectively borrow and hopefully bring back. And then we have a tech platform called Tap and Reuse that works with those returnables. And that's a tech platform that then effectively incentivizes people to bring those back, which I'll go into a bit more detail. So hopefully between those three, we've tried to cover every base. So Tap and Reuse has been going now in the UK. It's only in the UK. It's been recently launched, but across Europe, it's been going for 4 years now, and we've been working with a lot of different partners across the world already. And there's just a flavour of some of the companies we've been working with there. Very quickly, how Tap and Reuse works is a borrowing platform, and effectively, we have learned over the years that simplicity is key when it comes to borrowing platforms and reuse. And the more you can break down the barriers and make it as simple as possible, not just for a consumer and the public to use, but also the operator to use, then that unlocks the potential, and it also unlocks great cost savings as well. So how does Tap and Reuse work? We effectively, if you're a customer, let's take a classic cafe as an example. If you walk in and order a coffee, you'll tap your card and pay for your coffee, but right next to the same EPOS terminal will be a Tap and Reuse EPOS terminal. So you tap your card for a second time, which just takes a couple of seconds, and effectively that tap is securing a borrow against the packaging, whether it's cups or food packaging. So it's a free service to use. There's no charge. You're just linking your card to those cups. And then hidden under the counter is a magic counter, as we call it, is an RFID reader. So as the barista puts the cup onto the counter, that reader picks up. There's an RFID in every packaging. I'm not sure if anyone can see that, but under each cup or any food packaging, we have an embedded RFID. So seamlessly, the RFID system picks up that cup and links it to that card, and it can be whatever you put on the counter. So if someone's ordering a whole tray of food with cups and different food types, it will pick up the whole tray in one go. So that's the borrow done, and you'll go away and enjoy your food and drink, and then you'll come back and return it to a return point. And then the barista or a member of staff, as they're emptying that return point once a day, will simply scan that return point with an RFID gun that we provide. So you literally click the button, it scans and picks up every item that's in that collection point and returns it back into the system. So it's an incredibly quick and easy system to use. Really simple for customers because they're literally just doing one extra tap that takes a second. The staff are just having to effectively wait for that one extra tap, and then they're having to do that scan of a bin at the end of the day. And then I think I touched on earlier, the other the key to simplicity is the operational side of things. So tap and reuse effectively manages your stock inventory, so it keeps your stock flows and automatically tops up for you. So you're not having to worry about cups. We look after that. We know how low you're getting and how many cups haven't been bought back, and we automatically just replace all the stock for you for free. So you don't need to worry about stock replenishment. And then you get full access to all the data, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And then obviously the full support. And then we do offer the complete range of packaging. So this isn't just a cup system, it is across all wider food packaging. I know I've only got a couple of minutes, so I'll let people read as I'm talking on this, and I won't go into every bit of detail. I'd probably summarise in terms of how our progress has gone as being really, really positive. We're getting lots of sign-ups across all those different sectors that you can see there. We're getting really high adoption rates, really high return rates. I think if I was going to summarise, we've found every single site that we've onboarded in the last 8-9 months we offer a free month, 2 or 3 month trial period. So if you find it's not working for you, you can pull out quite easily. We found that we've had 100% adoption, so no one's ever tried it and then not carried on with it, which I think is quite compelling. I think the other thing to note, and what I'd like to finish, is on the big change we've seen, or not necessarily change, but the consumer perception is incredibly high. If you go to any of our sites, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of people walking around with returnable packaging and adopting this system pretty seamlessly. We hardly ever get any kind of negative comments, and it's generally met with a how do I put it, a kind of finally kind of approach. So I think there's generally a perception out there that consumer behaviour tends to be a problem with this kind of thing, but actually we found the complete opposite. They're actually really engaged and wanting to happen and wanting to link into it and find it really easy to use. So I think that's one of our big takeaways. I just want to finish on the cost savings. So I know, let's face it, commercials are important to everybody. We are finding that generally 90% of every lead that we do come in, we're finding that tap and reuse is actually cheaper than the single use comparison. So the costs of single use. Generally we're on about a 90% there, and we're finding as a general guide for everybody, and this will change depending on sites, but as a loose guide, if you're operating a counter or a cafe and you're serving over 75 single-use cups a day, then typically it's going to be cheaper to switch to reuse. That's what we're generally finding with our system. And then just quickly, don't take my word for it, but I've just put up a few extra comments from people we're working with, from the National Trust or the British Library. And I want to finish on, if it's all right, RECOUP on their awards that we won with RECOUP. I've got to mention that, so thank you very much, RECOUP. So yeah, that's a general overview, but I'm sure we can get into it with some really good questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And Joe managed to join us. Are you ready to present, Joe?
Yeah, sure.
Over to you then.
Lovely. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can people see it? Lovely. Hi, my name is Joe. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cauli. Cauli has a very simple mission. We're trying to help eliminate single-use packaging in the food service sector. So we work quite closely with companies like Compass Group and WSH and ISS to help them switch from single-use to reusables. So currently about 60 billion are spent by the catering companies in 2024, especially to buy and throwing away packaging after just one single use. And that is actually a really huge overhead, even for a big corporation. And about 86% of everything that is recyclable is not recycled because of contamination, and they're not composted due to a lack of infrastructure in the UK and beyond. And currently 130 plus countries have banned single use or have imposed taxes on it. So currently, this is not just a great commercial case for companies to switch to reuse, but it is becoming increasingly a regulatory must for them to switch to reuse. And this is where we try to come in. So Cauli has a very simple mission. What we're trying to do is that we are making technology that is bespoke for food service companies to adapt to reuse and to be able to ditch single use. And the way that we do it is that we've designed a complete tech-enabled system that is very practical and tailored for sites for any of any sizes to replace single-use once and for all. So it is a very simple process where our users can borrow a reusable container either with our app or with Tap and Go, which is quite similar to what you just heard before. And then they return at one of our AI and empowered kiosk, which go back to the staff, and then those are washed on site, and then the whole circle repletes. And currently our return rate is at 98.7%, which is quite high. We're currently one of the largest reuse system for food service in the UK with over 50 catering sites across the UK and over 10,000 active users. To date, we've saved about 1 million pieces of single use from the landfill. And what we're very proud of is we doesn't just make it a good, simple environmental impact, but also a great commercial case. So what we do is that we help companies cut up to 40% of cost and also up to 92% in CO2 emissions. The cost part is particularly important to food service companies where the profit margins can be quite slim and they have very tight budgets to adhere to. And for us, it's very important for us to have very good traceable environmental impacts because our impacts are used in a lot of companies' annual reports to report on their scope-free emissions target. And for a lot of our companies, it is now becoming something that the stakeholders hold accountable to. And this is where we come in to make sure that we give them the best and most accurate data for them to very greatly report on their own achievements. So how do we do this? So what we do is that we empower food service companies to eliminate single-use packaging for our expertly designed Cauli reuse system. The core of it is our AI-powered return kiosk, which is designed for reusable packaging. And we have our revolutionary tap and go system, which means that it is simple to borrow a reusable container with just a tap of your payment card as you are checking out. We also have our Cauli apps, which means that every time that you borrow, you're able to collect Cauli coins, which is something that our users really enjoy. And it means that every time that they do a sustainable behavior, they are reinforced by rewards. And with the Cauli coins, they're able to then redeem free coffees, different discounts, and different gifts that is provided for them by our catering companies partners. And for them, it is also a great way to build loyalty for our users so that they will keep on coming back for more. We're currently in over 50 plus sites. A lot of them are hospitals, offices, airports, and different types of universities, etc., and etc. We're currently around the UK, and we're also in Ireland, and we're hoping to expand more as we build our technology to be even more bespoke to what our purposes are for. Cool. So this is a little overview of what Cauli is. Feel free to contact me and ask me any questions if you want to know anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. And over to Lynn, please.
Hi there. So I'm Lynn. I'm the CEO at FSG, and I'm really excited to be here to talk today about the future of reuse. I'll just share my slides. Right, so that's not quite working, is it? Just bear with me. So I know I'm here to talk about the future of reuse today, but I'd like to take you back to the 1970s if I can get my slides up properly. We did practice earlier and it worked. So I'll start with these slides here. Right, so I'd like to take you back to the 1970s before we start to talk about reuse. And I'm sure a few people can remember back 50 years ago, but I remember when I was a young girl, I used to go to the local chippy with my mum, and she would always take a reusable Pyrex bowl. They'd fill it with fish chips and peas, wrap it in newspaper, and off we went, a meal for four for less than £1, cheap as chips. And back then, reuse was the norm. Sustainably packaged, zero cost, minimal waste. So what changed? Fast food, convenience, and the throw-away culture. Single-use packaging scaled. But we're not reinventing something new here. What we want to do now is just take things back to how it worked before. Because today, 2.7 billion disposables a year in the UK, and that's just at lunchtime, are used once and thrown away. So when I first introduced reusable takeout food packaging into the UK market in 2009, to me, it was an absolute no-brainer. Save money, cut carbon, zero waste. But when I introduced this idea to caterers, they looked at me like I'd grown 3 heads. What do you mean, bring it back? That will never happen. But here we are now talking about reuse at scale. So at FSG, we've developed over 20 different styles of containers. And as Dan and Jo have talked about, implementation systems. So reuse has got to be as simple and easy and efficient as single use. It's got to be quick, it's got to be efficient. And we've found that behaviour change is also key. So we've worked a lot with research and development to develop behaviour change habits, because reuse isn't just a product, it really is a system. So we've invested heavily in research and development. We are lead business in a doctoral school with Strathclyde University. And this focuses on driving change in schools so that our future generation adopt reuse as the norm. It's just what happens. It's just how it is. We've also been looking to work really closely with Plastic Clever Schools. So this is an amazing charity. There's 2 young girls, Ella and Amy Meek, and they set this charity up when they were 10 and 12 years old. They provide resources for schools to switch from single use to reuse. And they've also done a TED talk, which if you get a chance, if you can catch this TED talk, it's called the sorry.
We can share the link later.
Yeah,
with
you can
the
share. So it's Kids Against Plastic. So it's an amazing TED talk. So we will share the link later. We've also invested with Innovate UK to put reusables into NHS patient feeding. And what we found was that there was a massive demand from the NHS staff to make that switch to reuse. And what we're now working on is to develop digital systems, because what we did find is a lot of people threw them away, took them home. So digital is really key to get the product back and back into the system, and really to make people accountable for their actions, to make sure that they bring it back. So FSG, we're a small business. We've been around for 17 years, introducing reusables into food service. We've had some great success with thousands of sites over the UK that are now starting to make reuse the default. And our impact to date, we're really proud of this, is over 20,000 tonnes of carbon emissions that we've saved, which is the equivalent to over 13,000 passenger return flights from London to New York, and that's the equivalent as well of driving 90 million miles, 3,600 times around the earth. So yeah, as a small business, we're already making such a big impact, but collaboration and together, we truly believe that we can change climate. We can really start to make these things happen. That's it. Thank you. Sorry about the slides. I didn't quite get there.
Oh, technology always surprising us. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's really inspiring to see the numbers and how much of reuse is currently happening. So for start of our discussion, for our vision, what I want you to do is to travel back in time for a second, when you first started with your business. And I imagine most people heard of your idea and thought, oh, nice thought, but it won't work. Or as you said, Lynn, have you grown 3 heads? And I want you to channel this spirit again and forget the current trends, crazy trends in the world at the moment, and give me your vision for 2046. Describe the world where would make people now say, oh, that's impossible, that won't work. So what does the average consumer experience might look like? What is your business doing in this future? I also invite participants to share their thoughts in the chat. I know that the time is kind of running. I'll squeeze my second question in this one as well. So think about how the food system can change together with the packaging as well. Will be possibly bring us some new options. Do we need materials? Can materials change? Are we talking about self-healing plastics or services? This is one of the other aspects, and behavior as well. So feel free to approach it from any angle you feel works for you. And we'll start with Dan.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I think if we're looking 20 years ahead, I'm seeing 2 predominant things. I'm seeing orange everywhere, and what I mean by that is a connected reuse system, interconnected throughout the UK, and orange becomes the new colour that effectively consumers see as returnable. So we won't have bins on the high street. Arguably, we might not even have recycling bins. We'll just have collection points. And you'll see a wall of orange and go, that's where I'm going to drop it off. And they're all interconnected, and they can all be interconnected between different operating systems, whether it's Collie or us. They're all interconnected, and that'll just become a new normal. And I think there's nothing stopping that from a practical or cost perspective, as we've shown today. I think it's just about scale and adoption. The second thing that I think will be happening in 20 years is connected packaging. We can do it now. We are doing it now. And I think we're just starting to explore the world, what the world looks like when every piece of packaging is connected, whether it's in very simple terms, looking at passports for every slice of material or packaging, in practical levels like that, but also what does that mean for the customer and the consumer and us as a community. I think that's very exciting, and we're involved in quite a number of projects along those lines, and I can't go into detail, but that for me is the exciting side of where everything would be connected, and how that actually means everything becomes actually more convenient. Everyone says, oh, single use is so convenient, but actually when packaging and reuse is all connected, your overall experience right from there to there will actually be more convenient than single use. It sounds sort of hard to believe, but actually I think once it's established, it will be more convenient. We will look back on single use and think, actually, that was actually inconvenient in comparison.
Thank you. And Joe, would you like to share your vision, please?
Yeah, I mean, Cauli has a very simple vision statement that the team actually review every single time we have a meeting, because I feel like it's very important for us to like think about what we're trying to achieve here. So the vision of Cauli is we dream of a world where reuse replaces single-use food and drink packaging. So it's very simple. We don't know, like 20 years is a long time. We've seen the tech like kind of take a big leap from the past 20 years. And what we want to do as an end goal is just that reuse is the norm and all of the things can be used to the best and the end of its life cycle before it is being discarded or made into new things. And for us, for Cauli, our mission is to adapt technology or whatever tools are at our disposal to make that one particular vision comes true. For now, what we see is we can use AI-powered kiosks. We can use different types of tech and integration to make that happen and make it simpler for people, because as we all know, changing behavior is one of the hardest thing out there. And what we're trying to do at the moment is use technology to make it the most rewarding experience that the users and the clients can have. In the future, if you ask me, it will be really great if reuse tech can become even more downsized and streamlined and be integrated into everyday life, so that it doesn't feel like every time you're borrowing something, you're actually doing any extra steps, but it is just the flow of things are. Like how in certain countries, it is just the normal thing for you to take your recyclables back and you DRS machines and get your money back so that you save a penny. It is just part of your everyday life. And I feel like a lot of that would not just have to do with technology and systems that we built, but a lot of it is about collaboration with the government and with academics. And a lot of it is through like what was mentioned before, education, and how we interact with our younger generations and how we interact with our current generations to make this into something that is so unignorably normal.
I like
and what
that.
was the second question?
Unignorably normal. Thank you for sharing this, Joe. And over to Lynn, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with Dan and Joe. I mean, reuse has got to take over from single use. I think single use will be a thing of the past, and we will have return collection points on the high street. Everywhere we go, it's going to be convenient to return that item. Also looking at the circularity of materials, looking at biopolymers, are we going to move away from oil-based polymers in the future? Let's hope so, because, the stocks are depleting. So yeah, biopolymers, recycling reusables back into reusables. So closing the loop, not only on the system, but closing the loop on the materials as well. And I think gamification will play a big part. As Joe mentioned, I think rewards, for doing the right thing, we found that really does work with our clients, that carrot and stick. But if somebody's rewarded for bringing something back and not rewarded for, for just throwing it away, single use, that's going to really make people focus their minds and remember to, to bring it back. So yeah, a vision without single use is definitely going to be the future. And I'd like it to be orange, Dan. I'd definitely like it to be orange. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very exciting. It's definitely the future I want to live in. And I agree with you that, yeah, the technology can be a great drive of the reuse, and it can go beyond the data and beyond the borrowing, the technology in washing, like ultrasonic technology for washing, and then automation of the washing and collection system, and then logistics can give reuse a big push and shift. And as you all said, make it so convenient that we don't even remember what was the thing about the single use. And hopefully we can see the behavior change, what some of you are already working on, that for the humans in 20 years, bringing something back is considered not as an extra step, but something good we are doing together. And maybe the expectation from the consumption is different. Maybe we become a bit more attentive and a bit grateful about what we consume and how we receive it. So it's very optimistic, and with people like you working in the industry and a lot of forward-thinking professional across all the value chain, I think we are heading in the right direction. So we are nearly out of time now. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Just a couple of things of the events to save the date. So RECOUP Awards, or the one we then mentioned, are open for entries. It's free to entry, and there is special category for the Circularity Project of the Year, which is suitable for reuse. Also, our RECOUP Plastic Assembly is in a new exciting format this year, and please don't miss the tickets because the tickets are limited. So yeah, thank you. We'll answer the questions we didn't get via email, and hope you got a bit of inspiration from today, and have the great rest of your day. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.